chart for us on NFL teams off of a bye, which I want to hear, even though I already know what most of it is. It's fascinating information. Rob Veno making his second appearance in 2 weeks. He's going to look at the Florida International Texas El Paso game and a bet for us in the WNBA. And we're going to end the show with the great Art DiCesare. Teddy covers. What is your big game breakdown?
Well, what bettors learned today, we'll talk a little bit about Tom Brady buying the Raiders and what that means in the world. And, of course, my big game breakdown today, we'll talk a little college football for Saturday. Big noon action, UCLA at Rutgers in a Big Ten showdown. Fascinating game to break down. I look forward to that a little bit later in the show.
Dan Alexander came up with a great one. Opening the show with an old man talking about his phlegm and showing dirty tissues. That's how to hook the new viewers. Boom! Oh, yeah! Nobody can hook new viewers like the Prez. Okay. Dan, I love you. Ralph Michaels, everyone. Ralph, welcome to the show. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, guys. I want to take 1 second and thank everyone that participated in the $5 Tuesday yesterday. I had a nice 5% win. Teddy, congratulations. You had a $5 win. Veno had a $5 win. And Prez, Veno. Veno had a $5. McGinnis had a 5% win. And Prez, I know you had an incredible number of people on your 5% for Saturday. So best of luck for you guys. It is the absolute best way to try WagerTalk. Each and every Tuesday, everyone can load a package for $5. Make sure you set your calendar to head to WagerTalk.com every Tuesday.
Yeah, and yesterday was a record-breaking day sales-wise for those $5 plays. And I'm in a chat group with McGinnis and Carmine. McGinnis had Carolina to win as his 5% play. They were down 1-0, and he had to be talked off a cliff. But they got it done, and they got it done easily. Ralph Michaels, let's get into some baseball talk. We got the Mets and the Dodgers. How you betting this game?
Well, guys, I am on a 10-1 baseball run, and this is actually a 2% client release. So you don't need to buy it. You're getting an actual value play for free. And I am simply on the Mets. When it gets to the playoffs, you are basically just doing the eye test. I look at Severino against Buehler. I give the edge to Severino. Bats, even. The Mets with the confidence off a home win. I will certainly back New York. Now, I did take them first half because I want to fade Buehler. And if you think, oh, my God, Buehler was good, listen to this record the last 3 years. His ERA has gone from 2.5 to 4.0 to 5.4 this season. His whip the last 3 years, 0.97 to 1.29 to 1.55. Since the 6th of June, Buehler has made 12 starts. He has had one quality start in those last 12. Severino at home, 7-2 with a sub 3.0 ERA. When I went to the database, excluding wildcard games, because those can only go 2 or 3 games, if you are in series game 3 and the team at home is tied 1-1, those teams have gone 13-4, 76.5%. And teams like the Dodgers that had over 95 regular season wins are off a home game now playing on the road. They're only 11-26, 29.7%. And when you exclude the World Series, those teams are only 23.3%, a minus 52.4% ROI fade. Give me the Mets. First 5, actual client release.
Yeah, so first 5 is the key here. I was going to ask you about the 2 bullpens because obviously the Dodgers bullpen's been unbelievable this postseason. The Mets bullpen has been a little vulnerable. So first 5 makes a lot more sense to me than full game for the Mets in this concept. But I want to ask you about this. You broke down the starting pitching matchup. And even for a first 5 wager, it feels like I do less and less with the starting pitching, like even series by series. Do starting pitching matchups even matter, even for a first 5 wager? Because, anyone gets in trouble, they're getting pulled.
Yeah, Prez brought this up maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago, Teddy. Prez says, have you ever bet 3-inning MLB plays or 4-inning MLB plays? And we said we haven't. And those things are setting off. Now, I have never gone into that and actually broken them down. And I understand with the Dodgers tied at 1-1 and the bullpen they have and the off day, they have someone probably warming up in the first inning. So, yes, it's much less important. But finding the value in this game, I think there is value in the first 5.
Ralph Michaels joining us. Ralph, let's keep this show moving along, but I need to ask for likes. Teddy, I do this penalty box show every day. I just taped it before the show begun, and I keep forgetting to ask for likes. So, guys, take a second out of your day and hit that like button for me personally, please. And then maybe later hit it for Teddy as well. Okay, so Boston College, they're +7 against Virginia Tech. This is a Thursday night college football matchup, Ralph. How do we bet this game?
Well, let me just say this. You look at the strength of schedules for these two teams. I have Virginia Tech at number 40, Boston College at 46. Basically even. But when you break down the stats, Boston College is actually number 45 in the country at plus 0.94 yards per play diff. That's offensive yards per play minus defensive yards per play. Virginia Tech is only number 71 at plus 3.7. You look at teams off a bye. Now, both teams are off a bye this week, but when you have a conference game and the away dog is off a bye, those teams have gone 54% with over 1,200 plays in the last 15 years. Huge sample size. But when I break it down, since 2011, and if that team is off a loss and the other team is off a win, like this case, those away dogs like Boston College have gone 63% against the spread, 85 wins, and 50 losses. Now, BC is off a loss at Virginia last week. It was a disappointing loss, guys, because they were up 14-0. They were up 14-3 at halftime. They ended up giving up 24 unanswered in that loss. But again, now they're in a different role, as the away dog. Again, to the database, if a team after the third quarter was winning by 7 or more and lost the game, like BC is, they're 56.2% and 59.1% as an away dog. And again, you look at BC, their last 7 games as a favorite, they're 1-6 ATS. Their last 10 games as a dog, they're 7-4. That makes 13-5 for the dog in BC games. And Virginia Tech only 4-4 as a favorite. They are 3-1 as a dog. It's going to be a low-scoring game. Listen, I'm not going to make blow smoke and say BC's got a good offense. 298 against Missouri, but that was on the road. They only got outgained by 76 yards, minus 2 turnovers. And in that loss against Virginia, they were minus 3 turnovers, folks. 95% of college football teams on the road, minus 3 turnovers or more, are going to lose the game. Hidden value at BC, very low scoring game. I'll take the touchdown.
So the total was right here in this same range last year, and Virginia Tech hung 48 on them. They beat them by 3 scores in 2022. They beat them by 26 points in the previous meeting here at Virginia Tech as well. And BC's offense didn't really work in any of those games. 262 total yards last year, $155 the year before that, 346 before that. Do you worry at all that Virginia Tech just outclasses this team speed-wise, that BC offense, just much like Stanford last week, if you don't have speed, you're going to have a hard time against Virginia Tech. Does that concern you here?
I don't. I look at Castellanos, and I think, is he better than Drones? Well, I don't know. He's completing 67% with a 12-4 ratio. Drones, 62% with a 7-3 ratio. You have to remember this, though, too. The game before the Virginia loss last week, BC was without Castellanos against Western Kentucky. Grayson James, the FIU transfer, started that game, got him to a win, but they only had 279 yards. Castellanos back in, another game under his belt. I have the quarterbacks even, Teddy. I understand what you say. If you say, who do you want running the ball, Ward or Tootin, I say Ward's numbers are good, but I say Tootin, I think, actually impresses me a little bit more. I like BC's O-line. Defense certainly goes to VT. But again, I think it's going to be a low-scoring conservative game, getting a full field goal, getting a full touchdown in this role. Color me the Eagles for Thursday night.
Well, Michaels, let's get straight into your chart. This is a fascinating chart. It's about NFL teams off of a bye. And, you know, we've gone through this many times. We've gone through NFL teams before a bye, which is very interesting, and NFL teams after a bye. And a lot of the general public believe that these teams are bet on teams after a bye. They have an extra week to prepare. And maybe it's one of the reasons why Minnesota finds himself -2.5 against the Lions. Tell us what we should do conceptually with teams coming off of a bye.
Well, Prez, I bet you're right. If we go to a bar and ask 9 guys at a bar, is it an advantage or disadvantage in the NFL to be off a bye? I'm going to say 9 out of 10 are going to say it's an edge. You read other newsletters or articles, oh, this team is rested off a bye. But that's why we have the database, and that's why we share the information here. If we could see the chart, it's simple. The top of the chart are teams off a bye, and this is with the opposition not off a bye. So
Right.
Only the team is off a bye. Both teams are not off a bye. Home favorites since 2015 off a bye, 47%. Home picks or home dogs, 48%. Away favorites, 52%, break even. Away dogs, 50%. So basically, guys, if you are off a bye, that is not a positive. And in fact, if you're a home favorite off a bye, it is actually a negative. But look at the bottom, guys, where I wanted to get you some actionable info for the upcoming weeks. If the team is home now, and they're off a previous win, those home teams have covered 55%. So if the teams are off a loss and a bye and now at home, only 35%. Road teams off a bye, it's flipped. If the road team is off a win, 49%. And if a away team off a bye, also off a loss, 57%. So, hey, if you have a home team off a win, off a bye, play on. Away team off a loss and a bye, play on. A home team off a loss and a bye, a fade.
So I'm fascinated by this chart, Ralph, because intuitively it doesn't. I don't see the 20% differential between a home team off a win being good and a home team off a loss being bad. ATS after the bye. You have any thoughts about why?
You know, I don't know, Teddy. We've talked about, often when teams are off a bye, why is the home team a negative off a bye? Well, they're at home. They're getting situated. They're spending time with friends and families. They're paying bills. They're out of their routine. And when they come back, but perhaps it's just the positive vibes. Going into the bye off a win is a positive. Going into a bye off a loss is a negative. When you're off a home game with another home game coming up, don't have the real quantifications for you, Teddy. But again, since 2015, there's pretty significant sizable numbers on a very fair sample size.
Ralph, what do you got to promote?
You know what, guys? I just have my baseball play up for today. I'm going to be loading up some college football plays for this weekend. 16-9 college football run, and all sports runs since September 24th. Is now 38 and 16, 70.4%. So again, thank you for everyone following, and thank you again for everyone that took part of our Tuesday $5 packages.
Ralph Michaels, outstanding stuff, and I love the data that he brings onto the show, Teddy. So how was Bet on It, man? Are you taping today, right? It tapes today?
Of course. Yeah, every Wednesday.
Well, good luck. Still our premium show, our flagship show, guys. So check that out. We got a gentleman in the chat room named Joseph Veno. I wonder if he's a relation to Robert Veno, who's coming up right after we discuss what did bettors learn. Teddy?
Oh, did you see that schmooze fest yesterday when Tom Brady bought the Raiders or invested many millions into Mark Davis's pocket? And remember, Davis is I believe he's the poorest NFL owner. All he has is the Raiders. There's no outside anything. I'm sorry? Yeah.
Best hair.
Killer hair, exactly.
Killer.
But from an income standpoint, just about every other owner has other income streams. The Raiders don't. So Brady has plenty of capital and access to more. NFL franchises don't grow on trees. Davis needs capital. It makes sense. It feels like a pretty good investment, a perfect business deal. Except that Tom Brady is also a broadcaster.
Yeah.
And that was a big sticking point in the process. Now, when you think about what Brady can't do, now he's been barred from weekly production meetings with the players. He's been barred with weekly production meetings from the coaches. He can't be in another team's facility, and he can't watch practices. And those restrictions will continue. So basically, Tom Brady's job is show up, call the game, go home. Everyone else got to work. You can get briefed and then show up to the game. And it makes sense. You have to have restrictions like that. But really, owners should not be calling games. Owners should not be broadcasters. And remember, these are the same owners who were against gambling, but they really weren't. You know, Clark Hunt, Chiefs owner. Clark Hunt, Chiefs owner. I think a lot of owners around the league felt that was a potential conflict. It's hard to know whether it was an actual conflict, but it could be a potential conflict or perceived conflict. Brady can't be an owner and call games, in this bettor's opinion. It is a conflict. That being said, Vegas is a cool town. If you're out and about, sooner or later you meet and see everybody, or at least lots of people. So I'm looking forward to seeing Tom Brady at the grocery store. That's what I learned last night, Lawrence.
Trust me, Teddy, Tom Brady is looking forward to seeing you too. I do agree with that take. It actually, I just didn't understand it. Like, so he can't do any prep before the games.
It's a good gig.
So he was doing
$37 million he's getting paid to do no prep. Just fly to the game, call it, fly home.
So he was doing prep before and he wasn't doing any prep?
Because it's been a 17-month process where Brady's been trying to buy the Raiders. So throughout this time, he's been limited in what he's allowed to do in prep for the game, and that will continue.
Okay. Well, in all seriousness, I don't really give a shit. So, and nor do you, but it is a good take. And I do agree with you. Guys, hit that like button, please. I can feel your fingers hovering over it. So just click. Robert Veno joining us. Rob, welcome to the show. How are you, buddy? Volume, Robert. That's okay.
You can figure it out, bud. There you go.
Go, Robert. Go, Robert. I can read more texts that Slacks that Dan sends me. You know, he keeps forgetting that I read them live on air. But why not, right? Anyway, Rob, do we have some volume?
We good? We all good?
So, Rob, they're calling Roger, B Daddy just called you the Italian stallion. Look, stallions get put out to pasture too. So, and they're still stallions. So you're an old stallion.
Yeah, and even a little older. Prez, about a week and a half ago, got to 63 now. So I don't know.
Wow.
Stallion 63, I don't know. But
you
we'll
look
try
damn good for 63.
Yeah, we're trying, Prez. You know, you come from that region of the world where they say that, you know, olive oil keeps you preserved pretty good. So maybe I'm preserved pretty good. Who knows?
Well, we love having you on, Rob. Let's get straight into some college football. Florida International. This game goes tonight. They're playing Texas El Paso. And just to jump in quick, even though I'm speaking and interrupting myself, which is a new thing, I have a bet on that game for my clients, and it does come as a bonus bet with my 2 NHL plays. So if you want to know what I think of this game, I have a play up for my clients on it. Okay, now I'll interrupt the interrupter who interrupted himself. Rob Veno, how are you betting this game?
All right, let's get to it, Prez. I'm a little contrarian here. There's been a big push toward under, all the way to 46 as we speak right now from 50. Mostly due to the status of UTEP quarterback Cade McConnell, which in my estimation is a huge overreaction, overcompensation, whatever you want to call it. McConnell took over at quarterback here a couple of games ago. Prior starter was a guy named Skylar Locklear. He came with the head coach, Scotty Walden, from Austin Peay. He's familiar with the system. He started the first 5 games. But I think when you dig into this, Locklear is fine as a starting quarterback option here. He had the disadvantage of having to play teams like Nebraska, Colorado State, Liberty, all tough teams. And then, things weren't working out so well for the squad, so they went to McConnell. McConnell got them a little bit of juice, but his statistics are no better than what Locklear's are. And Locklear's a running threat. So I don't understand the huge push to under here on a starting quarterback questionable mark. Locklear's the number 3 rusher on this team. Again, he does add that to this offense. And to go with the over here, Prez, UTEP has made a complete and total polar opposite change. Scotty Walden's an air raid guy, and he's a fast tempo guy. UTEP now ranks 18th in the nation in tempo. They're running plays very, very quickly. They're sort of getting used to it here. We saw last week they're becoming a little more accustomed to it. And they get a huge step down in class and defense here against FIU, a team that's been gashed for 31-plus points in 3 of their last 4. They're 107th in total defense. They're 120th versus the run. It's not a good defense under Mike McIntyre. So I think UTEP stepped down in class defensively. The return of their starting quarterback, I think a second chance is good for him here. But I could make the same case for FIU, who may have even more success against the UTEP defense, which has been miserable. They've given up 40-plus in back-to-backs. So you start adding this up, and you think to yourself, there are going to be volume possessions in this game because the one side goes so fast, and FIU doesn't necessarily milk clock. They both have explosive players. They both play difficult schedules as far as their standards are concerned. And they both get defenses that they probably look out on the field and say, hey, thank goodness we finally get what we can handle. 46 is now underneath the key number of 47. Even more advantage. I mean, when I bet this thing, it was 47, 46 even better. So I would say the play here is Florida International UTEP over 46 points.
So does the weeknight aspect of it change anything, Rob? We saw some pretty ugly offensive performances in Conference USA action last night. The only game that went over in double overtime. It was kind of a similar story last week in the weeknight games. The only team that really moved the ball consistently was Jacksonville State. Does the weeknight aspect of it change the handicap at all?
It's still the same amount of prep time, but it is different, right, Teddy? We're used to saying Maction Tuesday through Thursday, and now we're talking about CUSA and Sunbelt playing during the week, so it's a little bit different for them. But I think the matchups kind of dictate more of the story than does the middle of the week type stuff. Real quickly on South Alabama here, just my own take on this. They appear to be highly overrated offensively. Certainly the 87-point outburst made people look twice, but now it's been down for that offense, and Troy is rebuilding. So maybe the matchups had more to do with it last night than the weeknight itself. I don't really worry about that too much here in this game.
Rob Veno joining us, everyone. And Ronald Kabang in the chat room. Shout out, Ronald. Keep winning, baby. Number 1 handicapper over the last 30 days. Rob, before we jump into some WNBA, what do you got to promote?
Well, let's promote Major League Baseball tonight. I do have a play on the NLCS up and available right now, and I will also promote tomorrow's Thursday Night Football up there a little bit early, but I thought we saw an edge in that game between Denver and New Orleans, so that play is up as well. You can find them both over at WagerTalk.com.
Okay, so I do not follow every sport in the world. I can't. I am so not involved in the WNBA. I will try to name these teams. So the New York whoever's are playing the Minnesota whatevers, and we're in the finals. And the whatevers are +3.5. Are you going with the whoever's or the whatevers here?
Yeah, I think I'm on the, if I got it right, I'm on the whoever's. I'm pretty sure.
The whoever's. That's the New York
whoever. There you go. Yeah, Prez, it's a first year for me in WNBA. It's been fairly successful here. I kind of took a pass on Major League Baseball this year to follow the WNBA and Caitlin Clark in this league. But let's take a look at this game real quick here. New York opens a 1.5-point favorite, total 160.5. They get pushed to 3.5 now, same total. But you go through the first two games, and there's some numbers here that are really hard to ignore. For New York, their starting front line versus Minnesota's starting front line, plus 29 points scored. Now, guys, these numbers aren't skewed by one big game. New York's front line was plus 12 in game 1, plus 17 in game 2, plus 29. They're plus 27 points from three-point range. They're plus 19 on the boards. Even better than that, they're plus 20 on the offensive boards, which has led to a 33-15 second chance points advantage for New York. All these things start stacking up. New York's had leads in both of these games, one of 18 in game 1 that they wound up blowing, and one of 17 in game 2. It took an 18-point comeback by Minnesota. It took Breanna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu to go 14 of 47, 29.8% from the field for Minnesota to win that game. And while New York's got some dominant numbers, Minnesota's still doing everything they do very, very well. I'll just tell you real quick, they're shooting 48% from the floor. They were the third best shooting team in the league this year. They're doing that good. They're scoring fast break points, 30 in all. They were third in the league in fast break points this year. They're doing that well. They're getting points off turnovers, 26 and 15, 20.5 per game off turnovers. They were number 2 in the league in that. Everything Minnesota does good, they're doing good, and they still should probably be down 2-0 in this particular series. I think the real key here at the end, if I'm just going to single out one player, Minnesota has a shooting guard, Prez. The whatevers have a shooting guard by the name of Kayla McBride, who is a dynamite three-point shooter. Game 1, she went off for 20-plus points. Game 2, New York focused on her defensively, shut her down, and they won that game easily. She's going to be the focal point here. Not sure Minnesota has enough, even though they're at home. This is a team, Minnesota, that was 16-4 straight up at home. But how about New York was 17-5 straight up on the road?
Yeah.
I avoided the points here because I thought the push was too high. Went to money line. Free play, guys. If you want to read the whole thing, free play up and available for you at WagerTalk.com. But the free play for today is the New York Liberty money line minus $1.60.
Love it. Robert Veno, everyone. And Teddy, if Canada had a women's basketball team, they'd be called the Beavers. Now get the dirtiness out of your mind, Dan. That's our national animal. Thank you, Robert. Teddy, it's time for the game breakdown.
Is the beaver really your national animal?
Yeah.
We're Eagles guys here in the U.S. Big game breakdown. Let's talk UCLA Rutgers on Saturday, noon Eastern time, 9 a.m. here on the left coast, Fox Sports 1. Right now, looking at the free Wager Talk live odds screen, I'm seeing Rutgers minus 4.5 and 41. And it's an easy case to bet against UCLA right now. Let's start with this. Big Ten teams traveling coast to coast, 3-10 straight up, 4-9 ATS. All right. Been a pretty strong home field edge. Pretty bad for the team going to the other coast. An emerging trend. And of course, you have a West Coast team traveling east for an early start game. You have a rookie head coach in Deshaun Foster. He's embattled already. He just needed a vote of confidence from the athletic director. Are we convinced that Foster is going to get all the details right on traveling west to east for a 9 a.m. start game, right? Easy fade. Well, as Lee Corso likes to say, not so fast, my friends. Let's talk a little bit about why UCLA might be bet on here, and more importantly, why Rutgers is bet against. Before I do that, we've been running this promo, and I extended it one more week by popular demand because we've been getting a lot of play on it. Thank you for your support. Coupon code Teddy365 will get you every play every day for the next 365 days, $99 a month. You're going to save more than $800. If I'm the guy, if I'm your guy, and you want to go with me, this is the package to get. And don't delay because it will expire. I know we ran it for a second week because it's been a popular package. Again, Teddy365. I know this isn't for everybody. It's a pricey package. It's $99 a month for a year. But if you want to get on board with me, this is the opportunity to do it. Teddy365 at checkout. You'll save more than $800. You'll get every play every day. No nonsense, no bait and switch, including the 5% big tickets for the next full year. So UCLA is an 0-5 team. They had a 3-point win over a 1-5 team since their 3-point win over a weak Hawaii team week 1. But when we look at who they faced during this span, wow! Combined 27-4 record, no joke. Indiana, they've been amazing. LSU, elite. Oregon, elite. Penn State, elite. Minnesota, at least pretty darn good. So UCLA has certainly, they haven't stepped up in class well, but we know they're battle tested. Rutgers on a 2-game skid. It's misleading. It should be a 3-game skid, but Washington missed field goals. If you watch the game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Since the Washington game, where the offense didn't work, they scored 7 against Nebraska and scored 7 against Wisconsin, a game that was over by halftime. This is a weaker foe, a chance to get back on track? No, it feels like a sinking ship. Schiano's making excuses already. This team is riddled with injuries. Schiano, quote, "Certainly we're banged up. We've lost a couple more. It'll be a challenge. We're not in a great spot with our health right now, but that doesn't matter. They're missing their starting linebacker, Mohamed Toure. They're losing the left guard, Brian Felter. They're missing the cornerback, Roger Longerbreen, the linebacker, Tyrene Powell, the defensive end, Aaron Lewis, the tight end, Kenny Fletcher, the running back, Samuel Brown, the safety, Flip Dixon. Those are all guys who have season-ending injuries. It's ugly." Schiano, quote, "We need to make sure that whoever takes the field, the 11 guys who take the field at a time, are prepared and ready to play. If they do that, that's all you can do." That's not a let's lay points with this team quote. You can't take the under with Rutgers' defensive injuries. Yeah, it's UCLA or pass for this bettor when it comes to Saturday early start action. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy covers. Real quick, I got 2 NHL plays up for my clients tonight, but the play that didn't make the card, Colorado Avalanche -125, I got a great feeling about this play. I don't want to put it in. I didn't want 3 plays tonight. And you know how this works, Teddy. The play you leave off that you like, it wins. So Colorado Avs, everybody. Art DiCesare joining us. Arthur, what up, brother? You look good.
Prez, I like it. I bet the Avs overnight, -115.
Yeah, well, so you're saying I should release it then? Just go back.
No, I'm with you. I mean, it's early in the season, but Colorado's got to figure it out.
Yeah, well, listen. I mean, they've lost 3 in a row, and I don't think highly of this Boston Bruins team. I know they've perennially been a monster, but this is a team that is going to struggle defensively all year. And I think when they play teams like the Avs, who are going to play heavy and in front of the net, I think they're going to struggle to keep the puck out of the net, even with Swayman in net. So, yeah, the Avs got to get going. But they have a lot of injuries, Art, and that's sort of what kept me off of releasing it to my clients. I mean, they've got some big-time injuries going on. Anyway, dude, we have 11 minutes with you. So
let's spend 3 of it making sure that you handicap the game so Art doesn't get to talk and you can handicap this hockey game that you're not betting.
You, Teddy.
Just keep going.
Miserable
just tell us more about Colorado, dude. We got like 10 minutes with Art. Let's pick his brain instead of you rattling
Dan,
on.
can you just mute him? Just mute the guy, dude. Like, seriously, how miserable are you? You just went bipolar on us, dude. So I wasted 30 seconds talking about Colorado, and then you wasted
a minute. You're still wasting.
About how I wasted 30 seconds, and then I wasted a minute talking about how you wasted 30 seconds about how I wasted time. Great work, Teddy. Art, how did the books do last week in the NFL?
The last week in the NFL was brutal, Prez. Every favorite and every basically over hit. So it was a parlay dream. It was a teaser dream. It just was not a good week for us in the NFL. And no matter what side or what total we were looking at, it just wasn't good. It was by far our worst Sunday of the year.
Well, I want to ask, because I've been reading stuff that this past weekend was historically bad. I've heard multiple bookmakers say the worst weekend we've ever had, the worst weekend in the history of the book. We've been open for 50 years. We never lost more money than we did on Sunday. And then with the Bills cashing Monday night, it made it even worse. Was it like a carnage type of weekend? How much of the profits that you made in September did you guys get back?
Yeah, Teddy, I mean, that's very fair. I mean, in our back room, obviously guys who've been working at the Westgate, Jeff, Ed, John, Jay, who've been there, 20 years, they weren't saying worst weekend ever, but, top 5. I mean, it was right there. It was as bad as it gets, especially, like I said, when basically every favorite outside of the Titans and basically every over hit. And, the public likes to lay those favorites and they like to take those over. So it wasn't great for us. We saw a lot of parlays hit, and it's one of those you got to dust yourself off and move on to this week.
So what happens a week after that? I mean, are the books, like if the bettors have another week like that, the books start closing the doors? Or is it a scenario where this week you expect a pretty strong bounce back and the public sides are all going to lose? I mean, how does it feel in the risk room when you've had a really bad Sunday and now you're trying to put up numbers for the next Sunday? Or is it irrelevant? You're just putting up the numbers that you put up.
It's not irrelevant, Teddy, and obviously there's a lot of chatter and a lot of talk, but the famous line is we're going to open our doors the next day. And obviously that happened on Monday, and it's happened on Tuesday, and it's happened on Wednesday. So we're always going to look forward. Obviously you can just look at what happened and say, what could we really have done? And, I lean on the guys who are mentoring me in this business and say, hey, we couldn't have done anything differently booking these games. That was just the results, and that's what happens. And then, like I said, if you're going to get every favorite and every over, I don't know any sports book that's going to win when those are the results.
So when we talk about this week in terms of early betting action, where's your liability? If we're going to bet against the public this week, who should we be betting against? And, of course, who are the pros betting in early week action? Talk a little bit about pros and Joes for NFL Week 7.
Sure, absolutely. So in the NFL, let's start with the public because the public's hot. Public's going to lay 2.5 with Atlanta against Seattle. They're also going to lay 3 with the Eagles at the Giants. And they're going to bet the over in the Lions-Viking game, which is the marquee game of the week. They are looking to bet that game over. The sharps and the more, obviously, sophisticated players, this is what they're taking. They're in London. They're taking both sides. They're taking the Jags, -4.5 up to 5.5. And when I say both sides, they're also taking the total. They bet the total up from 40.5 to 42. Sharps also took the Panthers +8.5 against against the Commanders. Browns, Bengals, under 44.5, now 42. They laid the short price with the Vikings, -1, -1.5, up to 2.5 against the Lions, and took the under in one of the doubleheader Monday night games. Ravens and Buccaneers, under 50, now to 48.5. And I got to mention this game because it's another game of the week. San Francisco and Kansas City is going to see incredible handle, and it's already seen incredible two-way, both from our sharp players and our public players. Really nothing to speak of on that game because people have been on both sides of the game.
That was actually the game I was about to ask you. And yeah, I mean, is that the feature game, or is Minnesota Detroit the feature game? I would argue that KC and San Fran is, but according to the television station, it's the Jets versus Pittsburgh. Where's the money coming in on the Sunday night game, Art?
Well, the Sunday night game, initially the under money was coming in on the Jets and Steelers, and now with the Devontae Adams news, it's pushed the total back up. Jets have gone from 1.5 to 2. So obviously you're going to see a little bump with the Jets, and obviously there's a lot of quarterback issues with Pittsburgh. Who's going to play? What's going to happen? So no surprise there that total went down and then shot back up, and the Jet money has come in.
All right, I just want to jump into some baseball real quick because Teddy's on an 8-0 run in baseball, everybody. So way to go, Teddy. That's unbelievable. Adam Trigger got on the show yesterday. He was on a 10-0 run in 4% plays. Ralph Michaels, I think, is on a 10-1 run in baseball. Our handicappers are annihilating the books in baseball these playoffs. Are you finding that across the board? Are you guys getting slaughtered this baseball playoff season?
Ted, Prez, not really. I mean, obviously the baseball action is really good, and when you have the Dodgers and Mets, and you have the Yankees in there, you're obviously going to have good handles on the game. I always look at it like this: with our baseball, because our splits are 10-cent splits, and you don't see them a lot, we get really good action on both sides. Yes, is the public going to come in and lay the Dodgers and lay them from minus 105 to, minus 111, minus 112, minus 113? Yes, but then you're going to get the nibble on the other side. People are going to come in and bet the Mets at plus money because we're the only ones offering plus money. So we actually get really good two-way action on these tight MLB games. And you got to remember, a lot of these games are like pick-em type games. So we really see fairly good two-way action.
And you talked about your 10-cent lines in MLB, which is something that bettors always appreciate. One of the reasons we love talking about the Westgate Superbook, because they still deal old school numbers. How's the promo going with the reduced juice for the NFL? You guys making money with that? Are you seeing increased action with that? Talk about your reduced juice options and some of the things that are going on right now at the Westgate Superbook here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, Teddy, I'm glad you brought that up. And it's been really good for us and really successful. And obviously, we're building on it. We've only been doing this for a handful of weeks now, 5-6 weeks. And, every Monday at noon, the college lines are going to go to minus 109. The NFL lines are going to go to minus 108. And we have noticed, when I'm there Monday morning at 7 a.m., the bettors who normally would come in and start making bets, they're going to hold off 3, 4, 5 hours and say, you know what? Let me wait. Let me get the discount. Let me, especially guys who are 2, 3, 4, 5 dime bettors. Over the long haul, that's going to save them money. So I know they appreciate it, and we appreciate everyone's business. And we appreciate people waiting and saying, hey, you know what? We'll take advantage of this. And it's good to have. I know a lot of people think it's this crazy relationship we have with the bettors. It's not. We want to have the best relationship we can with our bettors.
And that's something that's, so many beginning bettors don't realize. The books need the bettors need the books, and everything works better when the books and bettors work in concert with one another, as opposed to, when bettors are, I found this little ledge, let's exploit it 500 times so I can never bet here again, which does happen. We got just a few minutes left here, 2 minutes left here with Art DiCesare. Art, before we let you go, I want to ask you a little bit about college football this week. Give me who the pros like, give me who the Joes like, give me who Art DiCesare likes, and then promote whatever you want to promote, my friend.
All right, in college, let's go to the public. Friday night, they're laying the short price with Duke at home against Florida State, laying 3. They're also laying 6.5 with Iowa State at Michigan State. They're laying 3.5 with Kansas State at West Virginia. Those are probably the 3 most public plays I've seen. The 2 Wednesday night games, Sam Houston, they've taken the under from 56 to 54.5. They've also taken the UTEP under from 47.5 to 46. On Thursday, they laid Marshall from 8 to 9 against Georgia State. Now we get to Saturday. A lot of nice games, a lot of big games. Laid 1.5 with Michigan, up to 3 at Illinois. Took 6.5 with Auburn at Missouri. That's now 4.5. TCU, they took 6.5 at Utah, now 4.5. Obviously, that's got a lot of QB issues with Cam Rising for Utah. The LSU-Arkansas game, this is the big total that the Sharps were on. Under 57.5, under 56.5, and then under 56. Now 55.5. So you saw a couple of guys come in and a couple of different, groups come in and bet that at different prices. So really like the under in that game. Teddy, you mentioned UCLA took a lot of money at 6.5 at Rutgers. That's now 4.5. And another quarterback issue. Notre Dame was 8.5 at Georgia Tech. They're now up to 11. Georgia Tech, Haynes King has some issues, so he's a little banged up. And I love Nebraska this week. It would have been better at 7, but I still like it at 6.5. Both are off a bye. They go to Indiana. We're going to learn about Indiana this week because their schedule has been Charmin soft. I like Nebraska plus 6.5.
Art, real quick, we didn't get your thoughts on what you're betting in the NFL.
Oh, the NFL? I mean, as of now, I don't really love anything, to be fair. I think at 2.5 I would have laid Green Bay, but now it's 3 at home against Houston, so I would stay away from that. So that would be a little bit of lean as Green Bay at home, but now that it's 3, it's probably a stay off.
Okay, Art, brilliant stuff, man. What do you got to promote?
The Westgate guys, listen, come down. We got a lot of good stuff going on. NBA season's about to start. come down, get in that over-under wins contest. Still got a couple of days to get in on that. Come in, sign up for the app. New bettors get bet 100, get 100. You can still come in and get in on the Super Contest reboot, which is weeks 10 through the end of the season. If you had a bad start in your Super Contest, you can get in on a reboot. That's a $500 entry. And as always, come down to the Westgate. If you need help with anything, you need to get signed up, anything, ask for me. I'm usually there, so ask for Art, and I'll pop out and give you a hand.
Go, Teddy.
Well, if there's no presidential address, Lawrence, you can go. I was going to close the show with maybe a presidential address.
Okay.
But there's no presidential address, so
yeah,
we're out of time.
We're just out of time, bro. We're out of time. We got bet on it being taped in 14 minutes, so take us home.
Thank you for watching Wager Talk today. We'll do it again tomorrow. Same time, same channel. Appreciate the likes, follows, and comments very much. And best of luck with all your bets today.